All right. Hello, everyone. This is Kati Gostaspi, and I want to welcome everyone to the Kati G podcast. So the mission of my podcast is for us to all realize that we're great and that we can be even greater. And most importantly, how we can bring this greatness to the world through a brand. And in particular, in this podcast, it's about women lawyers bringing their brand through experience to the rest of us so we can learn from them. So why do I do this podcast? Two reasons. I care deeply about humanity, and I want us all, whether we're lawyers, women, whatever we are, to really see how great we really are so we can be happier in our lives and find more peace. And second reason, I'm just like you. I struggle. I have my own feelings of what if this, what if that, less than, more than. And some days are good, some days are bad. And so listening and having community and what I call, quote, support salon is really important. So this time, my podcast is with Jenny Martinez. And Jenny is an amazing woman lawyer who, well, we'll talk about how we met. It's always random how I meet my guests, but I think that's the coolest thing. She is with Munck, Wilson, and Mandala. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are.
Like the Nelson Mandela. And Jenny, remind me how we connected, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. We connected through the Law 360 article regarding diversifying or diversity in my law firm and how many changes we've made and how much progress we've made since I've been at the firm. And you read it and then you reached out to me.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that was not a setup for my listeners. I truly did not remember, but I do now remember. So as chair of the ABA Law Practice Division Diversity and Inclusion Committee, I get a lot of people feeding me content saying, hey, this is interesting. Hey, that's interesting. And they just send it to me just so I'm in the know so we can do something for it at the greater national level for lawyers. But I read that article about you and I was like, wow, this sister is really doing some interesting stuff in the realm of law and diversity. And so before we get there, tell us whatever you want us to know about yourself. Tell us your story so we can get to know you personally a little bit better.
Well, I'm a local Dallasite. I've been in Dallas my whole life.
So is that the word, Dallasite?
Dallasite, yes. Not many people born and raised here, but that's me. I went to SMU for undergrad and law school. And I've been practicing in Dallas ever since. I've been practicing for about 20 years, 21 actually. Seems like it's only been a few. And I've been at a small firm. I've been at a large firm, been at a mid-sized boutique, litigation boutique. The firm I was at before here, I had been at for 12 years. It was a litigation boutique, and I worked my way up to named partner. And I came to Munck Wilson about 2.5 years ago. And this was after many conversations with Bill Munck and him trying to recruit me. It finally worked out. The timing worked out very well. And I came here and I haven't looked back. It was hard. It was one of the most difficult decisions I've ever made to move, change firms. But I'm here and it's been a great experience. I do commercial litigation.
Very good. So tell me, why did you become a lawyer? I ask everybody that. Everybody's got to have a reason.
You know, my mother told me when I was younger that I could argue with a brick wall. And, I'm wondering if that just sort of set in my mind. But I don't really have a good answer for that question. I think maybe a lot of people do, or maybe they make stuff up. But when I was flipping through the college catalog, what do I want to study? I saw pre-law, and it just kind of went, ding. Yeah, that's what I want to do. And I later looked at my, I got through SMU Law School and was practicing. And I later picked up my high school yearbook, my senior year. And the senior prediction for me was she's going to go to SMU Law School, wow. Which blew me away because I did not remember that. And so, I think the stars just aligned for me. But there was no dream as a child, to grow up and be a lawyer. It just seemed interesting to me. And I love what I do. Every day is different. So that's what I like most about being a lawyer is there's not a lot of routine. It's not boring in any way, shape, or form.
Well, let's unpack that. First of all, I really appreciate your authenticity around not the non BS version of why you became a lawyer. A lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, how do I explain my brand and why I became a lawyer?" And we don't create fake stuff. It's not fake news. We literally say, "Okay, well, let's uncover it because there's relevance." But mine is because I'm an immigrant and you either became a doctor or a lawyer and I couldn't stand the sight of blood. So I thought, how are people going to respect me as an immigrant? And so that meant becoming a lawyer. It's not a very pretty story either. So I don't think people have to have fantastic stories around it. I think what's important is that we own whatever the story is authentically, because a lot of people have similar stories to yours. The second part, I love the fact that you love practicing law because every day is different. What I have found in the second career of mine is that people don't like change. So what about change do you like so much?
So I don't like change. And that's why it was very difficult for me to make the decision to change firms. I like new, exciting things. I like to work on new cases. I like to solve problems. But, big change is very difficult for me. I like routine. Maybe it's more my personal life that I like routine. But when it comes professionally, I like new and exciting, different, challenging things. So, but major change in my personal life, I fight that all the time.
Well, you sort of sound like me. I changed careers and I found out consulting is really my thing. Being a securities lawyer was great, but I never got to see my clients. There are always big, giant mutual funds and brokerage houses and wirehouses. And that's my dog barking, for those of you wondering. Yes, in the mornings, I go to the office. In the afternoons, I come home for variety. And because now dogs are used to me being at home. So we roll with it. But I love the variety is what I think we're alluding to, and being able to help so many different kinds of people. And it sounds like you're sort of like me in the fact that the variety is important, and being able to bring your offering to the right clientele is also important. So maybe that rings true with you from what I just said.
So yeah, I think variety is it's more challenging.
Yeah, exactly.
I spent a short part of my career doing insurance defense work and learned quickly that I did not like it because I found that slip and fall cases and car wreck cases, they did all seem to be the same. And I knew that would be just a terrible cycle to get into and would be easy to fall into it and stay in it. And I got out of it pretty quickly. But that commercial litigation, what I do, there are no two cases that are alike, and all the problems are unique. So you're constantly learning. And I like that. I like learning new things and challenging myself in that regard.
I always say curious brands win. And I think that I don't know how old you are. I'm 48, roughly. I've been out since 97. So, we've been out into practice the same amount of times, technically, sort of. But I find that most people aren't curious anymore at our level. They're like, oh, well, whatever. I know what I know, and I don't need to know anything else. But when we stop being curious, we're not dynamic. We're not able to sell ourselves, and no one wants to buy whatever we're selling because we're not interesting anymore, for lack of a better word. Our likability factor goes down. So I think that's a huge part of your success, it seems to me. And I have not known you for very long at all, but I want you to talk a little bit. We'll get to the diversity piece in a minute, but I want you to talk a little bit about your brand. And you're a mom, right? And how you juggle it all for the women lawyers listening. And then we'll bring in the whole diversity piece, which adds a whole other layer of complexity and interest to how you juggle what you juggle.
So yeah, I have 4 kids. I have 3 biological sons. And I adopted a baby 4 years ago, who is my biological niece. She needed me, and again, another change in my personal life.
Right.
This was not expected, but it was. Of course, I'll step in and help my family, and it's been a great experience. But it was something I hadn't planned. I was sitting in my corner office downtown Dallas, and my youngest was 10. Starting to see, beyond, grade school and beyond high school and, my life after that. And then, wow, I have a baby. So Wasn't expecting that. And I think I realized from that point on that I can't control everything that happens to me, despite my best efforts. And I just juggle. Every day is different. I rely on a lot of different people to help me. I have a part-time nanny. My family helps me when they, my father, my sons, but I work for a great firm who understands that. And, the people that are here have families and lives, and they know that if your personal life is not in order or you feel conflicted about your personal life or your obligations to your kids, you're not going to do a good job at work. It'll eventually affect your work product. And so it's very supportive here. They understand what I'm doing and what I'm juggling. And
amen to that.
Yeah, I mean, no one really understands because no one here has 4 kids, and I'm a single mom.
Actually, let me interrupt you. No one can understand because no one is us, right? The unique sauce that we have is only special to us, but people can empathize. And
Absolutely.
I always say great brands have compassion and empathy. Regardless, this is not about business. This is about the humanity of all of us as lawyers. So that's really special. And I'll let you finish, and then I have a question about how the firm does this so well. What's different from this firm, from the mentality of the people is really what I'm asking, not the perfunctory, what they do, but really what allows the firm to see differently this topic.
So one thing that I have noticed about the folks that work in my current firm, I don't get the impression that their identity, the lawyers, the successful lawyers at this firm, their identity is not wrapped up in their career. They have families and they have personal lives, and they're not judging their success in life based on what happens at the office. Mm. And I've known people that don't live by that motto, and it's difficult to work with folks like that, particularly when you're a single mom, because you feel conflicted constantly with your professional obligations and your personal obligations. Whereas here, of course, I still feel conflicted because there are so many things in the air, but I never think that I can't say, oh, I have this issue with my kid, I need to leave, and I'll get any pushback. Mm-hmm. So,
and you don't think that has to do with seniority?
Pardon me?
Sorry, you don't think that has to do with seniority?
My seniority?
Yeah, your seniority.
I think it does.
That's a question I get a lot.
Yeah.
Junior associates going, well, sure, you can say that, but I can't say that, right? Even though they're both moms and, they're both billing, but not at the same rate.
So I don't think that really applies here. And we've got a couple of great examples of that. We have one of our lawyers, her husband got transferred to Florida. She was an associate at the time, and she told that I'm going to Florida. My husband got transferred and we're moving there. And she expected the firm to find a replacement for her. But the firm said, no, we're setting up an office in Florida.
I remember reading that.
Yeah. And so she now has, multi-million-dollar practice that she's done out of her house. And she has 2 kids. And the firm has been flexible in that regard. And we have another lawyer who works a part-time schedule. And she just recently moved to Chicago, and we have a Chicago office now. And they're, these are great lawyers who we have trained and who are just wonderful people and lawyers. And why would we lose them?
Yes.
Why would we make that investment, not only financially, but personally for everyone here who love these ladies? Why wouldn't we work with that?
Yeah. And I think what you're saying is truly novel. And that's really sad that that's novel, right?
It's very sad.
I think conventional wisdom is people are replaceable, and people are replaceable, but are the right people replaceable? And the emotional attachment people get to one another is important at work, because support is support, community is community. And when we don't have community, we lose our humanity. And seeing that every valued person should have options. And I think the pandemic was the greatest silver lining for this, right? And saying, hey, you can have a Chicago office, you can have this office, and we can still be effective. And I think I always say this, and I'm sure you agree, in the legal profession, it's pretty easy to track. If you're billing your hours, you're billing your hours, and if we're seeing results, like, the whole FaceTime notion. I remember being an associate, and I was like, I just refuse to sit here for no good reason, right? If I'm not working, I'm not going to be sitting here. That's just nuts, right? I think hopefully those days are over, but I fear not, because the model is still broken. So I'm glad that you guys, and I wrote down so many of your beautiful words, that your identity is not wrapped up in your career, and your success in life is not judged by what happens at the office. And we talk about this a lot. My husband's a dentist, and why people are so proud of their children when they're doctors and lawyers. And there is a point of pride in saying, I have a smart child. But I think we forget that our success in life is about who we are as people, because we're low self-confident. We all are. I am. Everybody is. If somebody tells you they have high self-confidence, good on them. I have yet to meet somebody truly like that. Because according to my research, it's tied in with stress. As your stress goes up, your self-confidence drops. So we're all so stressed, we can't help but have that. And when that happens, we relegate ourselves to titles and achievements at work, because we can capture that and we can control that. And you said it. You said, I can't control everything. I juggle and relying on other people. So I think those are huge lessons. I'm summarizing this for the audience, because I love to have people walk away with lessons from someone that's doing it, not just me saying it, right? I can say this stuff till I'm blue in the face, but look, it's working out for her. She's got 4 kids. And she's making it happen. And the firm is supportive. So people like that do exist, and you can create a firm like that, frankly. And I think that's truly aspirational. So tell me what's been going on in the diversity world with you, which is the whole conversation on its own, but it's really important. So you've got nothing going on with 4 kids and commercial litigation. So you throw in diversity on top of this?
Yeah. So one of the conversations that I had with Bill Munck, our managing partner, before I came over, was, he really wanted to increase diversity and increase the number of women lawyers at the firm. And we had a few female partners that were here, and there weren't enough. And so he wanted to create an environment where there were more. Therefore, we could recruit more women lawyers. It's hard to recruit when the firm's not walking the walk. And so he wanted to walk the walk and bring me on board. And as I came, I started recruiting women that I knew, lawyers that I respected their work and admired them, and started off with a few friends. They came because they liked me. And then slowly we had more women lawyers, and we became more credible to the other women lawyers who didn't know us, who wanted to come over. And so now we've got, I think we're almost 40% women lawyers,
Wow.
which is a huge, huge change. And it's having women partners and women in positions of leadership within the firm. Other women lawyers, associates, they see that, and they want to be somewhere where they can achieve that, if that's their choice. And
when you don't see someone that looks like you, when you don't see anyone like that, why would you think it's a place for you, right?
Correct. And you may choose to go another route. You may choose to not go into management, or to not have, certain responsibilities, or to go part-time, or whatever your choice is. You need someone there. I think that you can say, well, they did it, I can do it. And that's that a lot of firms just don't have that. And so it didn't happen organically. It was intentional on my part and Bill Munck's part. And our executive committee is amazing, and they fully supported it. And it blew up, in a wonderful way. I think we had a two-year goal, and within a year we had a lot more women lawyers, and just a lot more diversity.
Retention has stayed. They're all still there then, right? I mean,
correct.
Some attrition is natural, but I think the attrition that we're always used to seeing, where women are like, that's it, I'm out, right?
Correct. Retention, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of attrition, but really we've been fortunate in that the women lawyers who have left or have gone in-house, they just chose a different route. And that's great to have those relationships when you're outside counsel.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we've been very fortunate, and I think that's because of the leadership and the decisions that were made to become more diverse.
Yeah, I think attrition is very natural as long as it's for the right reasons. My husband's a dentist, and there's been situations where he's actually either let go of an employee or they've had to leave, but there's the could come back as patients. And I tell him, I said, that's such a big compliment, right? Because you fired that person and they're still a patient because they trust your dental work, right? Same thing here. If they're going somewhere else where they're still accessible, they're your friend, those connections are invaluable. So, what do you say to firms that say we don't have time? I don't know how you made it happen in a year. 40% is there's not enough women out there. What do you think is a good solid blueprint for people to follow?
I think with respect to the I don't have time, I think you have to make time. And I think in the end, it makes sense business wise. You're going to, with better retention rate, you're going to be more profitable. If people are more satisfied with their job and their environment, they're going to be more productive, and that in turn is good for business. And so I think you almost, laying out excuses like that, you're not doing your firm service.
And why do you think people
Maintaining the
do
status
that?
quo.
Everyone wants to grow. Well, okay, not everyone wants to grow, but everyone wants to flourish and thrive, right? And make more money. That's not literally tied to growth, at least as I teach it, and I work for law firms. But why do you think more people don't step up and create the time? And I'm not trying to put you on, on the spot. It's a conversation. I think we don't discuss that aspect of it, right?
I don't think it's a priority. I think
Yeah.
it's, we hires are made when you get new cases in and you see what resumes you have, and there's not a plan or a priority to set something in motion that's different. And it's easy. Like me, I don't like change. Some firms don't like change. The
Yeah.
people at the top who are bringing in all the money, they don't want to make less money. And so you have to sort of change the whole outlook in that, but realize at the end of the day, financially, it's a great choice because you're going to have better retention rates. You're going to get great work from satisfied attorneys.
Wow, so well said. Uh, I'm just mulling over the fact that there's a financial implication, there's a priority implication, and there's an implication of dynamic nature of change and the brand. So for all of you listening, that's really how this goes. And most lawyers tell me, I am not a good manager. I'm not a good leader. I went to law school for the substantive practice of law, and that's what I'm good at. And I'm like, I get you. But everyone is running a business, whether you're at a firm or not. I've said that for 12 years, and now it's become almost cliche because it's so often said. And I'm fine with that. But you have to prioritize what's important to you. So it's not important at that level, right? If it's not broke, why are we fixing it? Well, yeah, but you're working so many hours and you're so stressed and you've got associates that are keeling over. So it is broken, even though you don't see the broken nature of it, and then they're replaceable, right? So I'm not trying to paint a picture of firms as awful places to work, because I think law firms and lawyers, we're a noble profession and we're needed and we do a lot of good. We're just not set up to run as businesses and not set up to emotionally connect with each other and with ourselves so that we can understand what you're talking about. This is a dynamic nature of financially thriving because you're allowing other people to show up. And that's how I tie in the concepts. I think you, Jenny, have a beautiful brand. You have a great brand. It's authentic, it's strong. And when you know your own personal brand, which is my entire purpose in life, when lawyers understand their own personal brand, understand what's unique about them, what's special about them, what's their story, what's their natural talent, how they can go out there into the community and thrive, then they're more accepting of other people. Because I've known plenty of white men in your situation that have stepped up and done what you've done at the firm with Mr. Munck. I don't remember his first name. Maybe I never knew it. But
Bill.
Bill, thank you. But it's not just women doing it. It's about people saying, I know my own brand. I'm proud of myself. I'm as confident as I can possibly be at this moment. And that means I'm going to choose to see other people as more welcoming. I'm welcoming them. I'm embracing their differences. I'm acknowledging their presence. And I'm okay with them being better at something than me. So, I always say men are more competitive. It's just how men are wired, as women were not. And when we're thrown into the regular law firm life, it's painful because it doesn't work for us, right? We don't thrive in that competition. We're collaborative by design. And that's neither good nor bad. It's just different than men. And so diversity breeds a collaborative nature of work, right? Where we can actually work off of one another and people have support in a different way. And there's no identity crisis going on, right? Is how I look at it. So I think what you guys are doing is model, is exemplary. And at the ABA Law Practice Division, when I took over as chair, I said, let's do something that's really different and that actually moves the needle on this rather than just talking about it. So we're starting a pilot, and we're starting with the life cycle of a law firm. And we're bringing in lawyers, and hopefully I can get you to come in. I have you on record that I'm asking you so I can corner you. But really about how to pilot this with a couple of firms and actually put in tasks that can happen across the firm that can naturally lead to diversity growing and the firm growing financially and from a choice perspective. So I'd love it if you were in the pilot with us, and you don't have to say yes or no. That's really not why I bring it up. I'm bringing it up because I'm trying to promote the pilot that we're going to be doing starting in the fall, really on the life cycle of the firm. It's not just about hiring, it's about retention and training and all the other parts of a good employee as a lawyer that's necessary. So
I'd love to learn more about it.
I will tell you more about it. I am never shy at a loss for words. So before we move on to the second part of the interview, is there anything in particular you want to leave us with a thought on, a takeaway on your practice and diversity?
I think the important takeaway for me is that this cannot be accomplished without the support of the folks that are in control, the decision makers of the firm. That they have to fully support the decision to move forward in this regard. And I just don't think there's a lot of firms that where that is possible. And you cannot do it without quote unquote the white men who dominate our profession. You cannot do it without them. I mean, you can't have just come in and make demands. It's never going to happen. Nothing's ever going to happen that way. You have to have the support of those that are the decision makers, and it's important for women lawyers to seek out those firms.
Such an important point you raised. And we talked about it in the podcast interview that I did with Xiaoyan Chen Dennis. She's managing partner of K&L Gates in Portland, Oregon. And her biggest mentor was a white man. And here she is, a Chinese immigrant, right, who rose through the ranks and became managing partner. But it's really true. I think sometimes as women, we become, let's just say feisty, right? And we push back. And especially when we got our wits about us and we've got an advanced degree like lawyers, it's like we know better. And so I think what you're saying has to do with a level of ease and grace and being willing to work with the white man and acknowledging them for who they are rather than ignoring them or plowing over them. Brute force does not work. Tyranny is not power. So I hope everyone really hears that. And a lot of women leave practice and open their own shop because they don't want to deal with that. But I don't think it's anything you have to deal with if you all just collaborate. And I'm saying the research shows, Alison Armstrong has done the research, that women are collaborative. So you can actually take this model and make it work. And they're not against us. The white man is not against us. It's just a model that is broken. But they're cautious of us because we do things that throw them off their game, right? And I know we're different. And I know no one here wants to sit around and go, oh, woe is the white man. I mean, I've plenty of conversations with male lawyers going, yeah, no one pities us. But, humanity is humanity. And that's the whole point of compassion for everyone. And then collaborating with them, which you showed so beautifully. So that's a great takeaway. So the second part of our podcast is you bring an issue that's challenging you, and I coach you through it. And like I always say, my listeners find such great value in this because great brands are willing to say, hey, even though I'm a great brand, I got my stuff together, I'm leading edge, but I got this challenge going on, because no one is immune from it, and everyone's got a challenge, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And if if that's the case, then there's nothing challenging you. And we get to work through it. So what's been going on? What's on your mind? What's a challenge you got on your plate?
So hold on. I just had something come up and we minimize this box on the screen so I can see you. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so for me, the biggest block personally are conflicting responsibilities and the limited number of hours there are in the day. And by conflicting responsibilities, I mean doing things like this, which I love, that serve sort of a higher purpose than the billable hour. But at the end of the day, the billable hour is what reflects my profitability. It's important. And so being able to do those two things is important. But I also have conflicting family obligations, of course, various things. And so I feel like I'm constantly lacking in one of the three areas, constantly. If I'm not doing business development or, things such as this, I need to do that more. If I'm doing this, I feel like I need to be billing time. If I'm here, I feel like I need to be with my family. And so it's the constant pull and feel of that I'm not on task and I need to be doing more, even though there's nothing more I can add to my plate.
So what are you doing about that now? I hear you loud and clear.
I take it day by day and I try to check off my to-do list and, satisfy all my responsibilities at work and, take care of my family. And the rest is sort of gravy. But it's really, it's a day by day thing. I don't sit down on, the first of the month and plan out my month as to how I'm going to juggle these three things. I feel like I don't have the time to do that. And on the weekends, I just feel like I have to just relax and not stress about the week. Because so I'm not doing a lot about it right now, is I guess an honest answer.
Well, I have to tell you, first of all, I so admire you, Jenny, for being so honest and bringing that to the table. That is I want to say every woman's issue, but it's every professional's issue. It's beyond women. It's beyond lawyers. It's a professional issue of how are we going to juggle marketing and business development, doing the substantive work, and this thing that's family that is more important than anything to me. But, the first two seem to compete priority-wise. And I think you're doing a really good job of it, I have to tell you, because you think about it. Self-awareness is the number one thing in brand development. If you're not self-aware of what is bothering you, what you could be doing differently, you can't fix it. You can't change it. You can't grow. There's nothing to fix. Let me reframe. No one's broken when they come to me with these issues. It's an iterative process, but you can't evolve. So first of all, I think you're doing a brilliant job of looking at it from the perspective of how could I be doing this differently so that I have peace in my life, right? Inner peace is all we're going for, whatever the heck that means at the end of the day. Most lawyers tell me they can't sleep at night. It's because we're so frazzled and the mind is always running. There's no peace during the day. There's no peace at night. You can't sleep at night, right? So the ultimate goal is to just be happier. It's an iterative degree by degree process. Here's the thing I found, and it sounds like it's your challenge too. The temperament we have that makes us good lawyers also leaves us as perfectionistic. Like I was raised by a anxiety prone, God rest her soul, mother who was fantastic at everything. But that was the problem, right? Like I was raised to be really good at everything and to dot all my I's and cross my T's. And perfectionism, according to my research, is a plague for us lawyers because it leaves us super stressed. It leaves us angry. It puts us in paralysis mode. Because then we just give up when we're stressed, we're angry, we can't make it work, and we're the bottleneck at some point. I don't want that to be the symptoms. I don't think you have those symptoms, but always trying to get it right. So at some level, I always tell everyone, just step back and just do the best you can, knowing that it will never be to your satisfaction, but good enough is good enough. right? I don't like the word trying because it seems like so much effort. And I don't like the word balance, by the way, because balance to me feels like I'm walking a tightrope and I might fall off, and that stresses me out. So I look at it as harmony, ebbs and flows. Like you said, you cannot plan out a whole month. You can somehow hardly not plan out a week. No week on my calendar looks the same because I do have stuff like this, right? I do podcasts and I do them for the same reason you do them. One part promotion, but one part really is like you got to do something to support other people, right? And community building. And that's really important. But because of that, it's an ebb and a flow. Some days are good, some days aren't as I expected. But at the end of the day, and this is what I said, my last point, I gave a 7-minute Ignite session at the ABA Women in Legal Tech. And I talked about self-care and self-love. And love is like this mushy, awful world in business, but it's not meant to be. Inclusivity is about being accepted for who we are, just as we are, right? That's the formal definition. If we don't know who we are, then no one's going to accept us for who we are because we're confused. And so we're sending conflicting messages. And who we are is based on who we are as human beings. And it's about the self-care that we bring to ourselves. And self-care is nothing more than self-love. So if I choose to sleep in, and I have this argument with myself all the time, instead of getting up at the crack of dawn and working out on my new home gym that I had to create during pandemic, just like so many other people, if I sleep in instead, then am I going to wake up and go, that's so great. You did that for yourself, Kathy. Good for you. That's showing yourself some self-love and pat on the back. Or am I going to wake up and go, oh, damn, I'm a pound overweight and I did get my workout in and now my day is all gone to heck, right? So it really is how we reframe how we're looking at ourselves and how we're bringing the best of ourselves to those around us and however much time we got to give them. And I think your work setting is a good one for that. I want you to reframe it. Try reframing it, Jenny, not calling it conflicting responsibilities. Call it complementary choices, right? That feels like lighter to me already, right? Conflicting responsibilities sounds painful. Complementary choices like, I made the choice to become a lawyer. I make the choice to do business development and bill and have a beautiful family. And Nelson Mandela said it when he was in prison. When they released him, someone interviewed him and they said, how did you live all those years in prison? And he said, every day it was a choice. I made it a choice to be in prison every day. That's how he got through it, by looking at it as a choice. When we look at life as a choice, we have options. Even though if he really didn't have an option, he was in prison, but he let go of that weight on his shoulder and said, I choose to be here. And that made it manageable. And dare I say, I don't know, I wasn't in his shoes, obviously, but something you could almost enjoy. I'm not sure who enjoys prison, but you know what I'm saying, right? Tolerable, at least. So look at it that way and see if it helps. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I think perspective is really everything. And to view them as complementary, I could totally see that because, if I didn't have my job, I couldn't have certain aspects of, couldn't provide my family with certain things. And, some of the things that I view are problems or conflicting are actually blessings. And to look at it that way instead of being stressed about all the things I can't get done, to appreciate what I can get done.
You got it. You got it. You really do. Yeah, that's it. So, it's just a mindset shift, just a perspective shift is all we're looking for. And it works every single time. Like I had a client this morning. She's in the C-suite. She had her best employee leave. And, 3 days ago was an existential crisis. She was saying, as she was calling me, but by today she was like, this gives me an opportunity to go back to square one and to shift, who does what and to grow the team out from a different perspective. And that she was happy today. I looked at her and I said, I thought you were going to tell me that that employee's staying. You're so happy. She goes, nope, I just did what you said. And I shifted my perspective on it because it's actually going to be better now. So go for it and you'll get results. And I hope that helped all of my listeners. So Jenny, last word from you. We'll leave the last word with you. If people want to get a hold of you and learn all about you and support your practice and be there for you, how can they reach you?
So you can reach me on LinkedIn, Jenny Martinez. I'm You can also reach me via my email, which is jmartinez@munkwilson.com. You can visit our firm website, munkwilson.com, and would love to hear from anyone or, exchange war stories. It's always helpful to understand that you're not the only one that's gone through a situation, and because sometimes you feel that way.
By far, it's not. And I'm really hoping that these podcasts do bring that to light for all of you listeners, whether you're male or women listening, lawyers or not. We're all going through this together, and support is incredibly important in community. And when we're all open and vulnerable, which Jenny, you have been, and I deeply thank you for sharing these things and the changes that have happened as a result of your firm being so accepting. But the challenges that you're still facing, because I think sometimes people look at someone like you and go, oh, well, she's got it all figured out. And, we don't walk around sharing those things that you just shared, like, hey, I'm dealing with this conflicting responsibility. Then people are like, oh, there's always going to be ebbs and flows. That's why it's called harmony instead of balance. So thank you so much. Is there anything else we should know before I let you go? Get back to your very busy life?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here, and I look forward to talking to you again and participating in your future webinars or podcasts or anything like that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. You were in my Support Salon Women's webinar. That's right. You were there, and you asked.
Yeah, that was super fun. That was super fun. I look forward to the next one.
Thank you so much. And to all of you listeners, please take this material, do with it as you wish, evolve it, own it, adapt it to your own brand, and really understand that it's an iterative process and you can't get it wrong. But by ignoring it and not owning your greatness, you really aren't bringing your best self to the world, and you can be a contribution in so many ways that you're not even aware of. So until next time, Ketty G out, and please share this podcast with those you think it would help.